Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for AMA number 30, which is, I guess, a sacred number, so to speak. But I didn't plan anything in particular for this one, so let's just jump right into it. I have a couple of things that I need to bring up. I wanted to share that, it's kind of weird. I reached out to Razer and asked them, hook me up with their new wireless stuff, because they released some wireless stuff, and in return they wanted me to just show it off. I reached out to them because I've been using a Death Adder my whole life, and they finally released wireless, pieces of the gear that I'm using, which excites me super much. I remember in the good old days when, when wireless mice came out, and it was always like some shitty mouse that you got like from some magazine, and sometimes they came with a mouse pad that you had to use and connect, and that made it wireless, and a bunch of other shit inventions. I feel like we've reached a point in time where we can safely say wireless mice are just as good as wired ones, and to not have the cable in the way, like I play here always in this occasion, but there's definitely been occasions when my cable has been in the way. So I have the wireless mouse, I have the wireless keyboard, or the same keyboard that I always use, and a wireless headset, the Black Shark V2 Pro. So that is just me. I don't even know if this is an ad. Is this an ad? I've used the Death Adder my whole life, so I don't know. I've been supportive of the Death Adders. That's it. I remember back in the days, my first gaming mouse was a Razer Abyssus, and the reason I bought it is because it came with runes. You could buy like runes, which was pretty cool, pretty pog. Nevertheless, let's jump into the damn questions. If you have any questions that were unanswered, if you had questions in general, something that sparks your imagination through this AMA, then please check out the YamatoCannon subreddit. We're no longer taking questions on the Discord because it's just such a silly format, and my Discord is so flooded already, and I want to use Discord to just be a part of the conversation. Another thing that I would love you to join is to just post content that I can react to. That would be super cool. It doesn't have to be league related, can be related to anything. I think that could be fun. Try to make me laugh or something. There's a thread on YamatoCannon as well. Finally, let's jump into the damn questions. GC25, assuming the opposing team did not ban and you had not seen what they picked, what would be your dream draft in the world's meta? So there's a lot of things that matter, right? Because that question can be taken in many different ways, and unless you view this question in many different ways, you are not going to have the ideal draft for the situation that you are showing. Thing is, some champions are better in some situations against some certain picks, against some certain players, because some players have tendencies, right? Let's pretend in this exercise that everyone is a perfect player and they play everything perfectly. If it is a blind pick situation, probably you want to land on something like like an Ornn, a Graves, or an Orianna, something just straightforward and simple that is going to have an okay matchup into some things, and the gameplay is going to be very streamlined, where you make sure that your bottom lane is something that can push. You make sure that Graves uses the impact of bottom side. This is a very, very simplistic way to put it. A dream draft would be finding the key pieces to counter the opposing draft, because even though I presented to you 5 strong champions, like let's say Ashe Pantheon as the bot lane, or Ashe Leona or something, even though I presented to you some strong champions, there are ways of beating this, right? There are some champions that, even though they don't seem as premium as the other champions, there are situations where they're better in these specific cases. Let's say Braum gains a lot of value because he's going to, punish some of the potential Graves damage, and then of course the Ornn ult. Maybe there's room for Silas, or maybe there's room to experiment further, maybe a Kayle combination and so forth. The world's meta has been long gone, so this is more theoretical outside of the view of the world's meta, because it's not really in my mind. I'm busy with all the new items now, but all in all, there is almost for every champion there are situations where those like every champion has a place in a dream draft. But if it was blind pick, let's say it was a blind pick, like, Worlds or something, boom, I would probably go like Twisted Fate, Camille, Nidalee, if it was blind pick, just to flip it, because the counters to Camille are very, specific for the situation. So I would probably go something like this, just to make sure that you can start off with the aggression, and then you have Pantheon bot, Pantheon Ashe, and then you have a lethal combination, something like that. We move on to the next question. Thank you for your question. Please come back soon. I don't know why I added that, as if I am working at McDonald's. Pancake! When do you think we can get a MENA server and Pro League backed by Riot? There are a lot of good players that need exposure and a lot of players that need development. And I know you coached a Tunisian team once and spoke well of them. What do you think of their level relative to weaker regions? Much love, Yamato. I find you very inspirational. Keep up the good work. I think culturally, Arabic players tend to be, very well aligned in what you would perceive as a good player and a good teammate. I think there is an inherent brotherly love in Arabic culture, which I think is very powerful. When I was coaching this team that you mentioned, it was is very silly, because the moment I arrived, all of my players, they know everyone. So there's like 8 teams at this tournament, they know everyone, and they're talking and they're sharing. And I want to have a meeting with my players, and then all of a sudden I have a meeting with 15 people, because there's 10 other guys from other teams that are just a part of, the situation over there. Everybody knows everybody. Everyone, has an inherent love for the situation. And a lot of these players that have gotten good at the game, they've done it against the will of their parents. Their parents are against gaming or something like this, and usually people that get through that kind of strive tend to have, a higher respect and a higher, value for the little things. Also, a lot of these players have achieved very high rankings on EU West, playing on very high ping. So I think there are definitely some golden nuggets, golden players there that could do some damage with the right opportunities. Because some of these guys don't have PCs. Like, they have shit PCs that they're playing on. Some of them have shit internet. And all in all, there's definitely some golden nuggets there. In terms of building a server, I don't know about the logistics. I don't want to speak on it. Obviously it would be fantastic if there was a server for these guys. But in the end, I think for the players that want to make it big, they would end up playing on EU West anyway. It's the same when you think of a Turkish server. The Turkish server, sure, some of the Middle Eastern players could play on a Turkish server, but in the end, the competition is more important to them than having a little bit better ping. It's the same like a Japanese server. They would rather play on the Korean server, or so even Chinese players would prefer to play on a Korean server. I think I don't know if it necessarily solves all of the issues, because if I was stuck in the Middle East playing League of Legends, I will still try to play on EU West to try to make it big. If anything, and now the viewership is growing. I think a steady 20k. Sometimes I see 30k when there's big games happening with the Arabic League. Of course, I think that is a great start. Build that out and build it from the point of view of the pro players. Build out the league, make it into a great system. I think the server comes secondary when you've gained enough traction in the region. I don't think a server is going to, save it all. I think the pro league aspect of it is what is important, and I know that the funding is available in the Middle Eastern region. Lakazakon, what do you think about UOL's decision to continue his career in EU region? Which team is the best for him? I think it's a strong decision, similar to the conversation we've had, the Russian league is the equivalent of the Arabic league, right? It's just a smaller league. If you want to compete against the best and grow as a player, you want to go to the bigger leagues and you want to be more visible. And Gadget fits that bill. Now, he was at the World Championship. He got a taste of what he might be capable of, and I think it makes sense for him to move in this direction. What is the best team for him? Well, that is a tough question because there's a lot of options. I don't know if he's going to have a direct ticket to the LEC because the carry role is quite stacked. But all in all, I think Gadget is a player, from looking at him at first glance, just looking at his games at the World Championship, I think this is a player that has good potential, and I think he views it the same way, so I respect the decision. OG Dave, with a lot of big EU talent going to NA, do you think NA will be more competitive and have a chance at leaving groups of worlds? I think some of the organizations have made strong moves. I think some of the rosters, like the rumored Team Liquid roster, the rumored Cloud9 roster, on paper it's looking good. The question then is support staff. It's a very, very important question. Team Liquid now losing Kane. Kane is a person that I know has a very sound mind for the game. What kind of coaches are they going to add to this? I can speak on the case of Trashy too, that he's a smart man when it comes to the game and a very positive energy to have in a room. How you piece it all together, that is going to be super, super important. That is, you can grab 5 fantastic players and sometimes it doesn't work. It's all about how the puzzle pieces land, so to speak, and that's going to be super important, and how you circumvent the possible issue of North American solo queue being lower quality and sometimes scrims being lower quality, and what you do with your academy. These are things that are going to be so important moving forward for North America. It's also, you can create 2 or 3 really strong teams. They can practice against each other, but at the end of the day, the rest of the league does have an impact. Like, is the rest of the league going to chase, actively chase top positions, have in the mind, like, okay, we can't get the big names. What do we need to do? We need to take some goddamn risks. We need to choose players that, in a scenario where we do everything right, he could be the best player in his position in our region. That is going to be so important. European talent has gone to North America many times, but there's always been a story of stagnation, and that is what is the most scary. A lot of players play super well in the LEC, and then they go over to North America and they play a little bit worse, because your environment makes it easier for you to push for the ideals that you kind of search. Like, imagine you want to quit smoking, right? And you work in an environment where everybody smokes. It's going to be a lot more difficult. If no one smokes, it becomes a lot easier, right? This is a very, very, dark analogy, but you get me, right? The challenge of leveling yourself up becomes more difficult in an environment where not everything around you moves in the same direction. And still, this is something that is still completely in your control. So the shift for North America can happen this year, because the difference isn't that big as people want to make it out to be. Even at the World Championship, Team Liquid was a good team. I think Team Liquid did well. I think FlyQuest did well too. They had some inherent issues in terms of being predictable, but there was a sense of growth there. They could look at themselves and see, oh, these are some of our issues, and it seems like these teams are trying to address them coming into, the next year. So it could be a year. This could be the year of North America. Who knows? I still believe that there is a silver lining when it comes to North America, and just putting every team in the same basket really doesn't make any sense. And I know there's been a lot of changes, the OPL opening up. What I'm worried about when it comes to the OPL, not opening up OPL, disbanding completely into players, having an open, don't count. They pretty much don't count as imports in North America, which is cool. But how is continuous what I'm looking for. How are they going to continue to create more players? That's the question, right? There's no league, so where are they going to compete? That's the question that needs to be solved next. And I think with that in mind, you'll have to just see what happens next. And it seems like North America, there's smart people in North America. I think, it's easy to be a Reddit analyst and just say, oh, this is the problem. Why is no one doing this? I'm sure, it's going to eventually happen. And I don't think it's as bad as people want to make it out to be when it comes to some of the top-end organizations. Flatulence response. What are the actual advantages of best of one? Are there actually any? I believe that there's been a cost-benefit analysis And in terms of viewership and in terms of how much it costs to run a show, it seems as if Riot Games have reached a conclusion, both in the LEC and LCS, that this is the best thing moving forward. We need to keep in mind that the driving forces in the LCK and the LPL are very different from the driving forces in Europe and North America. Culturally, it's different. What the fans long for in Korea and also the LPL is winning. The ownership of some of the teams in the LPL, they shit money, okay? They shit money, and it isn't necessarily about, gaining some kind of monetary advantage, right? The mindset is winning. And with this in mind, when it comes to the competitive aspect of it, I think best of threes is a better way of determining a true winner. I think it's a better way of preparing yourself for best of fives. Sure, it could have some harm. Well, I think Worlds having best of ones is also really stupid. I'll just bring that up in terms of determining the winner. But I understand why, right? I understand why, right? There's some games that are really dead. There's some games that are exciting. And best of ones just seems to be, something that viewers like. I believe this is the opinion. If best of three is ran, in terms of, I just mentioned money, right? The LPL and the LCK, they need to run their studio. That studio is running with a lot of staff and personnel, everyone on the ground, minimum like 200 people. And then there's teams, and it costs a lot of money to keep a studio running. And this is something that you need to, also evaluate, because LCK, Tuesday, I believe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, boom, that's 5 days. LEC is 2 days. LCK and LPL just have a shit ton of money. And I think also, fans, you can see how aggressive they are about winning, right? Here are the fans like memes, they like, jokes and so forth. I think this is a part of the underlying difference. I think the cultural difference and also the monetary difference. There's just some owners, all they care about is win, 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 win. I'm going to put money on it, and whatever I gain back, that's okay. This is my play to it, And I'm sure you can dig up some of the owners that are approaching the game like this. Sometimes the team shows up, it's like, hey, let's spend a lot of money this year. And they're going to sign all of the biggest names that you have in the offseason now, and they're just going to go for it. That is very common. We're in the middle of the video, but I thought I'd throw it out there. The YouTube works in a very strange way where they, the algorithm supports creators that get likes or dislikes, just some kind of interaction, comments, subscriptions, notification bells. If you want to support me, please go ahead and press those buttons. I'll wait a little second. And next question. Augusto. Hi Amaro, do you sing? I see potential in your voice. I sing when no one hears. So do I really sing? I guess not. Sam Becker asks, what are you most looking forward to this off-season? Extra downtime or maybe a particular project? Well, I've been keeping myself very busy with Pokemon cards. I've been keeping myself busy with preparing for the next year, for the next season. I've been reflecting on how I want to build a team and how I'm going to, solve issues and how the scheduling is going to work. There's a lot of groundwork that you can do before the season starts. So I'm putting my head into that, putting, a lot of my energy into figure out what this is the time to experiment with my body and mind, with how I react to like caffeine, certain foods and so forth. Just optimizing every aspect of my life that is going to be so impactful when the season starts, because I believe in min-maxing everything. The way I play video games, the way I play a game is min-maxing everything. The way this is the same way I view life. And the same way I view, team, like the team aspect. You just want to cover every angle. You're playing Path of Exile, getting 3% extra stats somewhere or 3 extra stats. This is, what min-maxing comes down to. And the difference between those items, where there's a little stat difference, but this is like this particular item is the best one in the game. That the price difference can be so massive. And the point is that I'm trying to make, I'm talking about Path of Exile, I'm not sure why, is I like to min-max everything. This is a period for experimentation, for preparation, and also, now when I know my home for certain coming into the next year, I know exactly what I'm dealing with and how, the process of preparing is much more clear to me. All in all, I want to end it there. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Once again, if you have any questions, ask them on the YamatoCannon subreddit. I wanted to also update you guys that I have a PO box. So if you want to send me things, I'm going to open it on the channel when it arrives. You can send it to me in the address or at the address that I'm going to write in the description below. You can send me wherever. Well, not whatever. Be sane. Don't send me something messed up. Pokemon cards. You can send me Pokemon cards if you have something chilling, and I'll open it or whatever. No. People ask me for a PO box. Here I have a PO box. It feels weird to me to do it. It feels very weird for me to do it. But screw it. Let's try. Thank you so much for watching. If you sneezed during this video, bless you and bless your face. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.